Hey guys, welcome to my AFL Round 17 2025 review of my tips, of course. And so this round, 9 out of 9 tips I got correct, which is the first time I've done that this year, actually. But it was an easy round in a way to presume who's going to win, because it was the bottom 9 teams versus the top 9. And so, yeah, I got 9 out of 9 correct in round 17. So let's go through them. The first game was North Melbourne versus Western Bulldogs. It was at North Melbourne 85 to Bulldogs 134. A big win for Bulldogs. This game was a Thursday night, I believe, and it was the 100-year anniversary of North Melbourne. They actually played quite good for 3/4 of the game, but then the class and talent of Western Bulldogs just came out. So yeah, I mean, I didn't expect North Melbourne to go and win. They gave it a shot, but it's hard to beat Western Bulldogs because they are, in my opinion, a top 4 team. And North Melbourne just aren't at that level. They got some good players, but they're not at that elite level. They got some good young players, and they seem to be improving each year under Alistair Clarkson. And I got my tip correct because I tipped Bulldogs, obviously, and they won. But North Melbourne did take the fight up to the Western Bulldogs, so I praise them for that. Then on Friday, we had the Friday night game, Carlton versus Collingwood. And I tipped Collingwood because Carlton is just they are just Carlton is just playing terrible at the moment. That game was Carlton 59 to Collingwood 115. Yeah, I mean, Collingwood, number 1 team, and Carlton are shambolic at the moment. I'd say they are the worst team in the league at the moment, or maybe the second worst team, because it's like they've forgotten how to score. They've forgotten how to kick the ball, even how to pass. Everything has broken down for the Blues. The signs were there. They haven't really played a good game except that one against Geelong. I'd say that was their best game all year, but otherwise there's been a lot of signs that they aren't playing that good. So they just they look like a team that's buckled under pressure this year. A lot of people believe that they were potentially a premiership team in the making, but that looks to be far from the case. So yeah, I didn't expect them to go into this game and win, and they didn't. They're struggling to score. And Curnow hasn't kicked any goals for 3 weeks, so he's I think a 2-time Coleman medalist, and he can't even get 1 goal in a game. There's been 3 games in a row, no goals, so it's hard to believe that. It's just hard to believe that Carlton is in this form. And yeah, hopefully hopefully there's some good signs ahead for them, but so far it doesn't look that way. Anyway, then we had West Coast Eagles versus the Giants, and West Coast 52, Giants 111. I tipped Giants obviously because they are just a much better team. They are a top 8 team, no doubt. So it's easy to tip that to tip them, and they won by 60 points. So yeah, very easy to tip that game. And I'm hoping Giants do good. Then we had Essendon versus Gold Coast Suns. Essendon 74, Gold Coast 115. Yeah, this was a critical game for Gold Coast because some people have said they don't play good away from home. They don't play good in Marvel Stadium in Melbourne in general. But so far this year, we have seen a different Gold Coast Suns, and they beat Essendon convincingly. Essendon have too many injuries at the moment, and Gold Coast just outclassed them all around the ground. If they lost to Essendon in this game, I would have been really shocked because this is a must-win game for them because they're in the bottom of that top 8 teams. So pretty much they got to win every game from here on in, and I think they will make that top 8 for sure. So games like this against Essendon are just must-win matches. And I tipped Gold Coast and they won. Then Geelong versus Richmond. Geelong 124, Richmond 52. Yeah, tipped Geelong and just a very easy win. Not much to say about it really. Jeremy Cameron kicking multiple goals, and Richmond, they're in a rebuilding stage, obviously. Geelong just, playing a good game, but not going all out. If they went all out in this game, then could have easily been, more than 100-point win. So that was very easy to tip. Then we had Brisbane Lions versus Port Adelaide. Brisbane 120, Port Adelaide 92. I tipped Brisbane. And 28-point win. I thought there was a chance that Brisbane could easily crush Port Adelaide here. I tipped Brisbane, but it was actually quite close for, I'd say most of the game up until 3/4 time and that last quarter where they just got away. Brisbane got away in that last quarter. But otherwise, it was very entertaining to watch because, it was a very back and forth sort of game and good goal scoring. Jack Lukosius, he kicked a couple great goals, and but it was very unlucky that Radaglia got injured, and then Sam Powell-Pepper also got injured in the 3rd quarter, I think. And I think that's really when the game turned, when Sam Powell-Pepper came off injured. But otherwise, it was a very interesting game to watch. And Brisbane are, second on the ladder, and they just showed why they are in second. And honestly, like Brisbane, I think we haven't seen the very best of Brisbane Lions like this season, but I think they got another gear, and I think we did kind of see a bit of their best football when they played Geelong, and then easily beat Geelong. But for most part, like their games, they don't seem to be going all out, yet there they are in second place. So I think, if they play at their absolute best, then they could win the premiership again, no doubt, and it could be another Collingwood Brisbane grand final. But we'll see anyway. And yeah, I tipped Brisbane in that game. St Kilda versus Hawthorn. St Kilda 74, Hawthorn 94. I tipped Hawthorn, and Hawthorn won by 20 points. This game was also kind of close, but yeah, again, Hawthorn just a bit more classier, and they have more goal scorers than St Kilda. St Kilda just are. They seem like they're a team that struggles to get big scores, and I think it's part of Ross Lyon's coaching. Like, he just tries to make every game a scrap, and it doesn't really work for them. They need more. They need to attack more, but they don't seem to have that much attacking players. So I think that's something that St Kilda need to work on, because Hawthorn obviously have more attacking players from what I can see, and they just play more offensive football, and they won, but they didn't win by big margin, but that's 20 points, that's okay. So yeah. Then we had on the Sunday, Sydney Swans versus Fremantle. Sydney Swans 94, Fremantle 83. I tipped Sydney Swans. I actually thought I tipped Fremantle in the last minute, or I thought I changed my tip to Fremantle, but then no, I actually didn't. I had it still on Sydney Swans, and luckily for me, I hadn't changed it. But this is quite a big loss for Fremantle, because I think they are supposed to have had 6 wins in a row, and then they lose to Sydney Swans, and now they're in 9th spot on the ladder, and there is a chance that they may not even make the 8, because they got some big games ahead, and it just it seems like when you get 6 wins in a row and then you're still not good enough to make the top 8, that must be pretty disheartening for Fremantle if they don't make the finals this year, because they've already missed the finals like the last couple of years by just being out of the 8. So if they are to miss the finals again this year, then that would be a bit shocking for them. But it is a very tough top 8, because every team is pretty good. So I don't know who is going to miss out, and it could be potentially Fremantle from what I'm seeing, because they lost this game against Sydney. Then they got some tough games against Hawthorn next, and then they got to play Collingwood. So they could easily be 2 losses for Fremantle. But anyway, I tipped Sydney to win. They did, so it was good for me. Then the last game was Adelaide Crows versus Melbourne Demons. Adelaide 90, Melbourne 77. 13-point win for the Adelaide Crows, and not one of their best games. The Demons actually played quite well for a lot of this game, and but the tale of Melbourne's story is just that they They have almost won games, but they just lack the goal accuracy, and yeah, they're missing something. So they're a bit disappointing, I'd say. I'd say like Melbourne Demons and Carlton have both had quite disappointing years. It's because they both have played finals in recent years, but now to see Melbourne Demons and Carlton Blues out of the finals, it's disappointing for both clubs. But yeah, Adelaide Crows didn't really play one of their best games, but they got the job done, and that's what good teams are able to do. Like, they don't have to play their best game, but as long as they can get over a line, that's what is important. So, Adelaide Crows, I'm not really fully convinced that they are, like a top 4 team, but I mean, they will be in the 8, I'm sure, but I haven't seen enough of Adelaide Crows to say, yeah, they're going to, go deep into finals, because they've had big wins against the weaker clubs like Richmond and Essendon. But I'm just, concerned about how deep will Adelaide Crows go. I mean, if they can get to the grand final, that'd be huge. But there's very tough competition in the top 8 this year. So, like, there is 9 teams this year that are battling it out for the 8 spots, and yeah, it's any one of those teams could be in a grand final. So that was my round 17 tips. I got 9 out of 9 correct. That's the first time I've got 9 from 9 this year, and yeah, we'll see how things go in the upcoming rounds. Thank you, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.